Hello friends, it's Kayla. Welcome back to my romance era. In this video, you control what I read. I have so many things that I want to say. First of all, thank you to anybody who contributed to these stories. I asked a question of what you genuinely think would be a 5-star romance for me. And then right after it, I asked if there's anything you think I shouldn't read that maybe other people would recommend. I've also been in the DMs with some of my friends who frequently read romance, and I've gotten some recommendations that way. But I don't necessarily want to kick off this video with like, these are the 5 books and these are the 5 people who recommended them, and like I'm gonna blame them if they go poorly. The thing about this video series is every single one starts at the same time. So the things you all recommended to me are kind of with no context. I wasn't asking for specific things. It was just a general openness to romance. With that said, if a book goes really well, absolutely going to talk about who gave me that recommendation, give them a proper thank you and a shout out. I could scroll and scroll and scroll for a very long time before getting to the end of this recommendation list. But without a doubt, the most mentioned book is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, but I have no idea what it's about. I've definitely seen this around, and the first thing I see is it's about a single mom. I wasn't expecting that. She's a best-selling erotica writer. Okay, interesting. Her name's Eva. She falls for Shane, who's a reclusive, enigmatic, award-winning literary author. Now they've been secretly writing to each other in their books. It is humorous, warm, and deeply sensual. So that was an easy first pick. The next most recommended book was Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellafleur. It's an own voices, queer rom-com with some of my buzzwords like fake relationship, blind date, astrology, and I thought this would be a fun one to read during the holidays. So that's 2 books that were recommended the absolute most, and then I have 2 books that were recommended like in a really custom situation from creators who gave me direct recommendations. So I will be reading The Romantic Agenda and Sweet Hand. Both of these covers super familiar to me. I know I've heard of them before. The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn is about 30, flirty, and asexual Joy, who's secretly in love with her best friend Malcolm, but she's never been brave enough to say so. He invites her on a weekend getaway, and there are 2 other people there, and she ends up having a fake relationship with this other guy to make Malcolm jealous. Then Sweet Hand is a stunning cover. It has quite a low average rating. It says, after a public meltdown over her breakup from her cheating musician boyfriend, Charisse has sworn off guys in the music industry and focuses on her pastry chef business. Her mom's playing matchmaker, and she gets involved with a guy named Kieran, the most annoying man ever. It's set on an island. It leads up to a wedding. Sounds fun. So there we have 4 out of the 5, but there was actually 2 authors that got suggested an equal amount, and more so them than their book. So I'm going to pick one from each of them right now and figure out what they're even about. First up, Chloe Lease was recommended a few times, specifically Only When It's Us and Always Only You. I think these are both sports romances by the looks of it. That one's hockey. I've heard it's Grumpy Sunshine, and the woman's a grumpy one. And I don't know if you're saying that you think that that is a dynamic that I would relate to. But let's read. It says it's a slow burn sports romance about love's power. We've got Ren, who's a hockey player, and Frankie, who is staff, featuring a nerdy late blooming hockey star and a tough cookie coworker who keeps both her soft side and her autism diagnosis to herself. It says its own voices, and she's a Shakespeare fan. The next author that got recommended a lot is Elizabeth O'Rourke. Oh dear. And her covers look like this. I'm not gonna lie, I am an illustrated cover romance girly, not real humans. It's so tough because I got an equal amount of recommendations for Waking Olivia and A Deal with the Devil, but mostly it was just people saying Elizabeth O'Rourke. Pick up something by Elizabeth O'Rourke. So A Deal with the Devil says, Hayes Flynn is an arrogant jerk known best for his Scotch habit and the way he spreads his British charm all over Hollywood. He's the last person I want to work for, except has a face I can't look away from. The longer we're together, the harder he is to hate. Wow, what a terrible synopsis. I don't know anything about it. Then we have Waking Olivia. Will Linkstrom has too many responsibilities, and the last thing he needs is Olivia Finnegan, a beautiful but troubled new transfer student. What? He's her track coach. I don't want to read that. Do I want to read that? So I'm just gonna go ahead and place holds on all 7 of these books, and I really hope I find a favorite here and this doesn't all go up in flames. Today we're at the beach. I don't know if the wind is messing up this entire clip, but I'm reading The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. I might have to voice over this entire clip later and just say what I was saying in the moment. I'm 10 pages in and I didn't realize that this was a boss employee kind of situation. I don't think that that's the romance that we're supposed to root for. I think we're gonna have a classic rom-com setup like The Holiday, where there's a woman who's in love with her boss, thinks that he reciprocates her feelings, and then is devastated when he goes for someone else. And the story is about her loving herself and finding her self-worth, but then there's also going to be guy number 2 who she falls for, who we're supposed to root for. But it's not until guy number 1 comes back and shows that he's also interested in her after all, that she chooses herself. And it's like a self-love kind of story, but also we're secretly, not so secretly, supposed to be rooting for guy number 2. This isn't vlog number 1, but it actually is book number 1. This is the first thing that I'm reading. And I think something interesting right off the bat I need to figure out is like, if a story is predictable, is that I feel like that's supposed to be a good thing when it comes to this genre. But shocks and twists and reveals and things that I don't see coming, that's something that I love in books in general. And like that is something that people look for in the romance genre, is that they know how they're gonna feel. So I do think that something fun about this one is that there is gonna be like multiple love interests. Basically, her boss takes her on this trip with a woman that he's interested in, and then he brings another guy with them, like seemingly for her. So it's kind of a setup. And once they figure out that it is a setup, they go along with it in like a kind of fake dating way, where they're like, okay, yeah, we'll pretend that we are interested in each other, and maybe that can get us the 2 people who are also on this trip who we're actually interested in. It's another day. I'm gonna finish this right now. I'm having a good time. I'm halfway through. It's starting to drag a little bit. I just don't know which relationship I'm supposed to root for. And I think that I thought that that would be a positive thing because I like a love triangle, but I just want to be able to commit my mind to like caring about someone and being convinced that like they are the person for Joy. But I also think that the intent is that no one is going to be the perfect person for Joy, and that it's about her finding her own joy. And it feels like the book is already setting itself up that way. Like, I really don't feel pulled to either one of these men. We're not getting a ton of Malcolm. We haven't really gotten into any jealousy from him yet. And then Fox, I think maybe it's because I've like accidentally fan casted him in my head as that guy from Scream and the Santa Clarita Diet, who I can't stand, but I don't love his vibes right now. What I do like, surprisingly, because books about like fame and influencers, not my favorite. She has a pretty decent fashion following, and a lot of her like personality is in her online content, so people know that she's ace. She talks about it a lot, and I do appreciate how those conversations are being integrated into the book. A lot of times when I read this representation, it's in like a YA book, and it's very heavy-handed, and it's just like the character introducing their sexuality and their preferences to the reader. It's very like, I'm ace and this is what it means, and they go on and on and on about it, and it's like, who are you talking to? But in here, it's naturally slid into the dialogue among the people who are all there together, and so I'm appreciating that. But something that she just mentioned, she's dealt with trolls harassing her, people making videos about her, a religious community even tried to make an example of her. The things that really bothered her though was people in the ace community saying she was setting a bad example for the movement or confusing people, because the way that she was looking online, like her fashion, her outfits, to other people made her look promiscuous. And I just think that idea in general is interesting, but also when you take into account like Claire Kahn writing a sexual representation, and since every single person's perspective is different, every person identifies in a different way, I know that when she came out with her book, I think this is the one, I remember people talking about how like this didn't represent them. And I wonder if certain parts of Joy's personality are inspired by the author herself and the ways that she felt perceived by this community. Anyway, her and Fox are spending a bit more time together, so I'll see how that all goes, how I feel about it. Okay, it took me like all day to finish this. I was not interested in the plot. For a book to be about fake dating, like, where? They started out with this list of things that they could do and all these ideas that they had, and I wanted them to fulfill like a checklist. But then they got feelings for each other too quickly, and the real relationship started to develop but the entire time she's like having feelings towards the other guy. So at no point was I rooting for that relationship. And then it also wasn't fun. Really great conversations and scenes around consent and talking things through, but my God, they talked everything through so thoroughly. Every single page of this book, it was just 300 pages of listening to people talk about their feelings. And it's important to be in tune with your emotions and to feel like you can open up to people. But besides a couple casual road trips that were just a few pages and like a couple romantic scenes, it was mostly just constant dialogue about how everyone's feeling, how attraction works, how these characters have known each other for 10 years, and how she feels like it could be her only relationship she ever cares about. Then her and Summer get into these frequent heart-to-hearts about all of their feelings, and then Malcolm and Joy have their feelings. With that said, I didn't dislike anything enough to call this like a 2-star, so I'm giving it a solid 3. And I definitely appreciate the rec and would continue to recommend this to people looking for this type of representation in an adult book. Okay, I officially have every book ready to read for this video. I wanted to acknowledge really quickly that like a 3-star might be the best that we get here, so I should probably say thank you directly to Gabby, Bree, and Darian, my friends who recommended this to me, who I want to acknowledge. Because I feel like a 3-star is such a solid rating, and that if that's the best we get, like, thank you so much, you are incredible. My goal is to read these in this order that feels right seasonally. So we're starting with some summer things, moving into winter and winter/holiday. So we've got these ones up next, and then 7 Days in June, Sweet Hand, Always Only You for hockey season, and Written in the Stars for my holiday read. I also want to take you fun places throughout these vlogs because it's just about the books, not about my life, and I feel like the background might get a little bit boring just inside my house. So I was going to take you to like the track today and jog around and maybe listen to the audiobook, but it's pouring rain. So we're just in the house, which is probably better for me because taking these out in public, no, it's not this one. This just feels scandalous. I do like the idea of both of them as far as like a forbidden romance and like an asshole man, Grumpy Sunshine. And I know that you would tell me that this is very like light as far as forbidden romance, but I think it's even gonna be too much for me because forbidden romance, in my mind, I'm like, I like the idea of two people who shouldn't be together because like their families don't like each other. Not that they're like from the same family and that's why it's forbidden, or there's a huge age gap, or like it's your sister's, your cousin, your boyfriend's dad, or it's like a teacher or your boss. But this one is a coach, and I think he's only a couple years older than her, and it's a rule, but also I don't know if they get together while he's her track coach or if like they're just pining over each other for a long time, because I've seen this referenced as a slow burn, and then once they're allowed, they'll be together. And then this one is about a woman who works for this, I think he's a doctor. Let me read the first chapter of both and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, well, I'm sure you saw this coming. These are not really doing much for me at this point. I also think I've entered the land of the smut. We're here. I'm scared. I read 3 chapters of this one, the first 18 pages. So much happened so quickly. So she got this assistant job just because of her friend, and she shows up and the guy is like, you're not qualified. He's obviously an asshole, but he's like extremely attractive and rich. So she's gonna fall for him eventually. But in 18 pages, like, she got the job, started the job, did her first day, showed up to work, and there's a woman in his bed that she's responsible for kicking out. And the first woman, she wakes up and she's like, I have to go to work. Will you switch clothes with me? And then Tally's like, yeah, I guess so. It's not like he's gonna see me. He's gonna be at work all day, so he's not gonna know I'm in this like sexy little number. And then of course 15 minutes later he calls her and he's like, come bring me something, and she has to, and she does it in the sexy little number. I feel like this is gonna be more silly, this is gonna be more intense, but this one is multiple POV and that one's not. And I do like hearing what both people are thinking and feeling. I read 36 pages of this one because the chapters are very short. They go back and forth really quickly. So I'm already on chapter 10. Olivia, or she goes by Finn, she started at this new school and she did something at her last school, like knocked somebody out. Obviously there was reasons for it, but now she has like this reputation and she is like mean. She doesn't like anybody. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. And now this coach, I think they're like 6 years apart. So she's like 20, he's 26 or something like that. He is in fact not allowed to engage with any students, rightfully so. But the person that he's working with or working for is already like questioning if he's gonna like fall for Olivia. But her whole thing is it's not funny because I think it's probably rooted in trauma that we're gonna learn throughout this book. But she doesn't sleepwalk, she sleep runs. So she will like run 8 miles overnight and then not remember any of it. So then when she shows up for practice the next day, she's exhausted and she's new to the team and she needs to make a good impression. And her track coach is so mad. He's like, you're supposed to be the best on the team. You're supposed to like win us all these awards. Like you already have this reputation. Why are you not taking this seriously? And she doesn't want to tell him about her sleep running, but obviously eventually she's going to, and it's going to be like opening up to each other. He lives on a farm and I think there's going to be the pressure of his family and the expectations on him. But I think I'm going to go for this. I think there's going to be stuff about like her actually participating in runs and competitions and whatever, and that will make it interesting if I'm not interested in the relationship. So this is going as well as can be expected, and I'm sure as well as everybody expected. It's not for me. Clearly Olivia has a lot of things she needs to work through and a lot of insecurity, so much so that every single person who talks to her, she judges them. Every woman she encounters, she can't stand. Waking Olivia is like, you know, waking her from her sleep running. So he puts himself in a protective kind of position where he will sleep near her or with her in order to keep her from running. It's just giving me a lot of like parent vibes, and I feel like that definitely is somebody's kink. It's not mine. He's just very protective and wants to keep her safe and is like managing how she's eating, tells her what to do, tells her what to wear, and she seems to enjoy it because she like didn't have that. And obviously every romantic relationship has a different intended dynamic and what people need. I just don't like it because obviously like there's a power dynamic imbalance and the controlling behavior could be so much worse. His perspective though, it is awful. I made the mistake of listening to the audiobook for just a little bit of it and now I can't get this voice out of my head. You know that scene from Gilmore Girls where Jess is just like over the top acting when he's like outside the bar with Rory and he's going like, what's going on? What are you doing? I can't believe it. That is Will's like tone. He's so bothered by just everything. He's so obsessed with Olivia and everything he says is just so like dramatic. Like he takes her rock climbing, which I thought would be cute, and then the whole time he's like, what are you thinking? You could die. I can't believe I brought her here. What was I thinking? I put her in such danger. I'm supposed to be the one protecting her. So that's where I'm at. Probably a 2 by the end. Why am I gonna keep reading? Why not? I'm not the kind of person who should be reviewing this book. It's a forbidden romance. So I shouldn't be questioning the forbidden romance of it all. I shouldn't be asking myself how all of these people are enabling him to participate in this. From his mother to his boss, who's like, just don't tell me about it and I won't have to report you. She has a deeply traumatic past and I'm not supposed to ask questions like, how was she a nutrition student? When every person she meets, her first thought is, why is this person so fat? She literally goes to a therapist who she's hiring to help her. And her first thought is, this woman knows so much about the brain. Why can't she get her weight in check? And then when she goes to a strip club, I'm not supposed to ask myself how on earth she had the thought, why can men touch women here? But the man hired to help me, support me in my education, can't touch me. Life is so unfair. I'm supposed to be asking myself questions like, did I love their love story? did I like when they kissed? And I didn't. The last 50 pages were so wild, considering it already has subject matter that I knew I wasn't going to be into, but I thought maybe like it would handle it differently than it did. But I shouldn't put that on the book because this book is exactly what it says it's going to be. It's fine though. I learned something. This only took up one afternoon of my life and 5 minutes of yours, so we're good. Moving on. Okay, I've started 7 Days in June. I didn't quite realize what I was getting into with this, and I thought when it talked about them writing to each other in books that that was going to be like their romance now, like they were writing to each other. But it's actually like they knew each other in high school and now they're reconnecting, you know, a decade later, and they're both authors and they have been like writing each other into their books. Eva has been writing this really popular vampire romance series, and it's very like Vampire Diaries vibes, and it's very much been a self-insert kind of thing for her. And then Shane is this really well-known award-winning author. He's only written a couple things though, and they're talking about their different experiences as authors, and he also has a bit of her like inspiring his books. They've both been through a lot this last decade, and though it's written in third person, sorry, I'm just trying to find the end of the chapter that I'm at. The end of chapter 7, page 71, that did a lot for me. And I think maybe this is also recommended because the romance isn't going to be like the #1 focus. There is a lot of other things going on. These people have both been through a lot, and though it's written in third person, like chapters look like they are specifically about each individual character back in the day and current day. And I really like that dynamic. They seem to be pretty imperfect characters, and that's going to be an interesting thing to follow. I just think it's going to be really special, and I'm going to read it all today. I am really enjoying this. I feel like I wouldn't put it in the romance category because it is like a good mix of just real life experience, parenthood, like career stuff, but then obviously there's this really passionate relationship at the heart of it, which is what I find Reese's book club does. Like every time I see a book in her book club, I know that it's gonna have so many different dynamics. I find both of these characters super compelling, and I like all of the author conversations that are coming up, like what the publishing industry is like and the challenges that they're facing, and the way that like women are treated different from men, and the way that, you know, paranormal romance is considered fluff and not important. And I think there's a lot of things that she's saying, like the author, as an author. And I just love when authors talk about what it's like to be an author within their books and these experiences that you could probably associate with them. A reason before that I preferred YA romance and I was a little bit hesitant to adult romance is because the stakes are often really high in an adult romance, and that's not something I was looking for in the past. Because once you bring in like getting married, having children, like there's just so much more seriousness that comes along with that. And when it comes to this genre, I think I just want to be having a nice time. Maybe I don't want all of the super heavy conversations, but because this was just like in the middle as far as heaviness, like there was just a general seriousness that came along with it because she has a child, and because they're at this point in their lives, there's like a certain amount of settling that they've already done. So I think that's why it is working for me. It's not changing tones and feelings throughout the story. It's just like they take things very seriously, and I just really like the pace of it. I think right now I'm just about to finish it and it'll probably be a 4. Okay, it's looking like a 4.25. Thank you to everybody who recommended this one to me. It was by far the most recommended. And on paper, this is like my perfect romance because there is enough outside plot besides the romance that if this book was all romance, I don't know that I would have loved it the same. But because we get to know so many other aspects of their life, then there wasn't enough romance. Because when we got taken away by like the daughter's perspective and then her mother's perspective and then their perspectives from the past when they were teens, I liked all those things, but I wanted to get back to like the feelings that I wanted from their relationship. I really appreciated how there wasn't a lot of miscommunication here, and I think that comes along with their age and their experience. There was a couple different situations where it could have easily gone to assumptions, and it did for like a second, and then they had one quick conversation and they got over it. I think there's a lot of things that kind of happen off page mentally for these characters that they're not really discussing. Some of the takeaways could be like, this is really codependent. Are these people really prepared to have this new relationship when the original relationship they had was destructive? So I think you as a reader have to assume that there are thought processes that we're not being privy to in order to just fully support them being together. And I did. I really liked their dynamic. I like them individually as characters. I'm just really excited this is a win. And I feel confident recommending it to other people. Me recommending romance? Oh my god. It's a super overcast day today, which makes me bummed out because I feel like you can't fully appreciate the colors of this cover, and I want to tell you how much I love it. This is my favorite cover of any book that I'm reading for this entire series so far. Like, I'm obsessed with it. The colors with the pink and the orange and the blue, or teal or green. Like, I have the same shirt as him, but also I do basically own that dress. I guess you would have seen this in the first vlog that I did, but like, this color scheme is just so stunning. I think Lenny Kaufman is probably my favorite cover illustrator. She also did Delilah Green and this book called Icebreaker that I want to read just because of the cover. And just the plant and the cat and the cake. This looks so warm, and that's exactly what I need today on this overcast day, so I'm excited to be reading it. Like I told you in yesterday's vlog, I love a book that like leads up to a wedding, has wedding activities. So in this one, our main character Charisse, her sister's getting married. She's the maid of honor. This guy who she can't stand is, I guess, the best man. I didn't have a proper wedding, so I forget the terms. Maybe that's why I like reading wedding stuff. Anyway, his name's Kieran. This is taking place in Trinidad. They haven't seen each other in ages, and her mom keeps trying to set her up with guys, but she's going to fall for him, I think. So I'm gonna go read the first 50 pages and give you my first impressions. Okay, 50 pages in, which actually ended up being exactly the first 5 chapters, so that worked out well. We are getting from both of their POVs, but it is third person still, so we're getting all of their thoughts and all of their feelings, and they don't like each other, but they don't have some like super dramatic past. Like, they're not enemies by any means, and it doesn't seem like they don't want to like each other for any reason other than like they just think each other is a little like obnoxious or pompous. There isn't some like deep-seated reason or rivalry going on. They both seem to be just very nice individuals, and I think this is gonna be just like the sunshine happy romance that I need right now, without a lot of angst and intensity and like deep dark secrets being revealed. I have really good feelings about it so far, so I'll read on and let you know. I haven't felt this way in a minute, but like, I'm getting annoyed that I can't read this all in one sitting. Like, I have real life things to do, like taking my kid to school and getting groceries and doing laundry and like all this stuff I have to do, and I just keep thinking, I want to finish this book, and that just makes me so happy. So I'm already gonna go ahead and say thank you to my Anna. She is the one, I think the only one who mentioned this book, and I'm so glad I trusted her, because a couple times over, you know, the past year I've mentioned wanting to start my romance era, and I was like, you're somebody that I need advice from, and she gave me a couple things. And this one, I'm just so glad that I picked this one. The slow burn is like just enough. I'm halfway through. Something I didn't realize is how long of a period we were gonna get to follow them. So it starts out in March, and I think it's gonna end in June. So it's not just like a week leading up to this wedding. It's like full wedding planning for months ahead of time, and all of like the bachelorette parties and wedding showers and all of these things that these people have to like plan together. So it's like a forced close contact situation, and they're trying their best to deny their feelings for one another, but at the halfway point we win. So we're currently in April, and we have a couple months to go, and there are definitely things like little conflicts between them. He works in music, and he actually works with her ex-boyfriend, and there's a little bit of like weirdness within that. And then he says something rude at the very beginning of the book about her and her bakery. And I love Charisse because she is extremely confident in herself. She doesn't think she can engage in a casual relationship, and she doesn't think she wants a serious relationship with him. But now I'm just excited to see where we go from here. But that scene I just read that is like teased here, and how they initially like kind of start up something, it was just top quality. I was worried it was gonna get too far too fast, which is a gripe of mine with romance, but that's the same with me in movies too. Like, I don't want the first kiss and their first time together to be the same scene. So I'm gonna try to take my time a little bit through the next 150 pages, but I'll probably fly through it anyway. It feels like it could be a 5. I win 5 stars. Yeah, I just went on the Goodreads page to find out what other people were thinking because I was just so curious, and it's gotten a lot of like 3 and 4 stars. And I learned about the trope he falls first, so if you're into that, here you go. And a lot of people were saying that she's kind of a bitch for no reason and he is a simp, and I was like, oh, have I encountered a book that I like maybe because it reflects my own relationship? Like, whoops. Also, it's kind of an anomaly that I enjoyed a book that kind of has to do with fame. Now, it felt very like small kind of contained fame. She has a large social media following for her baked goods, and he has a social media following because he makes music. And so they're aware of like their social media presence and how people are perceiving them and the comments that they get and the people speculating about like their relationship. And sometimes they're in like local like interviews and articles and stuff. And I liked it. Like, I liked it because it wasn't very much of the plot, and it wasn't about like coming to terms with fame or like dealing with fans or anything. I liked the small town vibes with all the families knowing each other and all of the friends. The friend groups were some of my favorite things, and I just learned that the sequel follows one of her friends that I loved, and it has to do with competition. So I'm definitely going to order this. I just liked him as a character, the things that he brought up as far as like consent and respect. And then there were like multiple very sexy scenes. If there was any critique, I would say like I wanted 50 more pages. I think we could have gotten a little more background as far as why they dislike each other, a little more evidence. I loved it. I'm so happy I loved it, and I'm just gonna live on this high for a couple days. It is officially hockey season, so I felt like it was the right time to finally read Always Only You by Chloe Leese. I read the first 50 or so pages last night at public skating. There were so many people there. It was so busy. I didn't go on the ice. I just sat in the stands and watched Liam do laps, and then I read the beginning of this. So this is about this woman who is the social media coordinator, me, who falls for one of the hockey players on the team. So they are co-workers. It's interesting because nothing explicit has been said about them not being allowed to be together, but the synopsis that I'm reading for the first time does say that dating is off limits and he sees her as forbidden. She's staff, he's a player. I feel like it's more like from their personal perspective, it's kind of off limits. Like, she shouldn't be involved with somebody on the team. He doesn't necessarily want to be interested in her or want to really date anybody from just that's going to distract him from hockey. They are currently flirting with each other, and they don't want the rest of the team to like know about it, but it doesn't feel like something that is a rule they're not supposed to engage with. But she also has ambitions of going somewhere else, like doing a different kind of job, so she plans on leaving the team pretty soon, I think. I'm excited that she's talking about her job and what it entails, and I hope that that continues. He's a very like golden retriever kind of guy, and he's definitely falling first. It's dual POV, which I like, and we're hearing from her a little bit more than him, so it's like 2 of her chapters to every one of his, which I like. And she's been telling us about how like good this job has been for her and how she likes how she's treated. She's autistic, and she also has like chronic pain and arthritis, and people have treated her in the past like difficult to be around, a burden. She has a lot of experience with guys, but they only get to a certain point before they kind of get tired of doing stuff for her. And what I really like about Frankie is we're not wasting time with her like waffling between letting people do stuff for her. So they're getting off the bus and he carries her bag for her, and in so many other books the girl would be like, oh no 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 no, or it'd be internal like, I can't believe I feel so bad about it. Like the book is wasting no time with this like back and forth, proving that the guy is like such a nice guy and he's gonna argue with her and be like, no, I'm carrying your bag, I'm the man. Like he's just doing it and she is letting him do it. She needed to ride home one night, and instead of being like, oh, I feel so bad, let me like pay you for your time, like you must have other things to do, like she's not even questioning it. She's like, he offered and he means it, and so I'm gonna take the offer. And I appreciate that perspective. He also like grabbed her mail for her when they were going to the house. She walks with a cane, so he knows like that he can easily grab something on the slippery sidewalk easier than she can, so he just does it. And I think that's what's great about the idea of friends to lovers. This isn't friends to lovers, it's like co-workers, but they have built this rapport over the years, so they don't need to waste time trying to understand what the other person is saying, and that's something I'm really appreciating. Also appreciating the casual cannabis use and talking about her chronic pain. I really like the idea of a sports romance. I hope we get a lot of sports in here. Right now though, I'm gonna go grab my new vlogging camera. It went on sale. I was patiently waiting. I'm nervous to switch from Canon to Sony, but I really want to try out the ZV-1, so I'm gonna do it. I've only used Canon my entire life, but it was really between, I'm just showing you, like this one is literally broken. Also the screen on the back is a little bit broken. The sound is a little questionable, and I know you can hear the autofocus. I've just gotten over it over the years, and the latest model of the G7X like didn't improve upon that. So it's basically about me replacing the G7X that I'm filming on right now with another one, or trying a whole new vlogging camera. They're the same price, so I'm just gonna do it. Okay, life update. Sitting in a different parking lot now. I'm much further into the book because I decided to pick up the audiobook. It has multiple narrators and it's really good. So now I'm past the halfway point, and what did I do since I saw you last? I'm trying not to film these like vlogs just talking about the books, so I didn't take you anywhere, but I went and did a little Christmas shopping. I took my mom to get her winter tires on. We went for lunch. She's currently reading The Home for Good Mothers. Don't know how she feels about it yet. I realized that I match my book. I got some groceries. I got the camera, and I also got a Starbucks because somebody commented that I should order my drink a different way and it'll save me money, but it was 50 cents less, and when your drink's already $7.50, like, I guess save anywhere you can, but I didn't think it tasted as good. Anyway, let's check out the new camera. I got the black one, not the white one. I prefer the white one, but the black one, it's more, what's the word? Less blatant when you're filming things out in public. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about the flip out screen as opposed to the flip up screen. There's no battery in it yet, but biggest win, how do I get this off, is that it comes with a wind cover for your microphone. Anyway, that's that. Thank you to anybody who's ever invested in my channel, whether it be merch or my membership or just a view, because it helps me put money back into my channel, like buying a new camera. Now as I struggle to close this box, let me update you about this. You know, there's not much to say about it, honestly. I'm really liking it, and it's like the same tone throughout the whole thing, which is something that I'm appreciating. The character personalities are staying the same. I feel like you might say the love interest is similar in the last book that I read for this video. A little soft, just kind and gentle, but I like a little bit of an edge. I like an 80% soft boy. Wait, if it's a soft boy, what's the alternative? I like reading about a love interest who's kind and thoughtful, and that is the majority of love interests, but a lot of times it takes getting through like a rougher exterior to get to that point. And I think I do prefer the setup of just like a nice, kind, thoughtful guy. But then I wanted to progress into them being a little like assertive, because his character's fine. He's inexperienced. He is a Shakespeare nerd, but he's also a hockey player. So it's like these kind of battling personality traits that you would expect. But to read, I want a little gruffness. I didn't expect my final review to also be in the car, but I just got to pick up Liam from school like an hour early, so I sat in the library and I finished this book. I'm so close to giving it a 5. I feel like I should just do it, but I also want to give it a 4.5. It got a little cheesy for me, but it was just the right amount of sexy. There was like just domestic activities, like just taking her dog to the beach and hanging out together. It was very sweet. He's very much a cinnamon roll. Ren throughout the book was definitely challenging like expectations of him. Misogyny was within the sport. He talked about how he wasn't a violent player, never wanted to be a violent player, and I think that's something that Frankie finds really appealing. He even has a book club, like both of them were involved in book clubs, so the book element introduced was really fun, and them like talking about the things that they're reading. I think for their jobs to be in such a fast-paced environment, high energy, the book and their relationship was so slow moving and sweet that it contrasted really well with the parts of their life that we don't necessarily see a lot in the book, like their actual day-to-day training and job stuff. I could have used a little more hockey. I could have used without the Harry Potter references. However, it was nice that she like acknowledged it, that it was a special interest, and that she wished she could love the series more, but the author is a terrible person. I feel like the conflict near the end was completely reasonable. It made sense with the characters, how they came back to each other. I don't know that I care enough about like all of the other family members that I know have their own books to continue on in the series or go back and read the first book. But it was really sweet the way that they connected with each other's family members, especially Frankie's relationship with, her name was Zig or Zib, Bren's younger sister, who is also autistic but is going through like a lot with that diagnosis and acceptance, and a lot of ways that Frankie felt in her past, and she feels like she can be a really good role model for her. So their relationship was really sweet and important. And now, oh my gosh, we're on to the last book. Okay, this is my first official clip on my new camera. Hopefully all the settings are good. I found it a little bit confusing, but good luck to me when I import this footage. I forgot to mention, of course, in the last clip, a thank you to the people who recommended the last book to me, especially Riley. Riley is somebody's name who came up a lot validly when I asked the question on Instagram of what romance booktubers you follow and get your recommendations from. And also somebody remind me at the end of this video to put a list of the most like common answers so you can get romance recommendations of who to follow, because I'm not going to become a romance tuber, don't worry. I'm still going to be reading spooky, weird things with just a little bit of romance. But I'll make sure to recommend some channels specifically whose names came up a lot. Once I have my jacket on, you're not going to be able to see my sweater, so I guess the scarf doesn't really have to go with the sweater. Anyway, I'm currently reading Written in the Stars, which feels perfect because we're in the holiday season. This right now, I think I'm a third of the way in, and we're at Thanksgiving time, and the story is going to end at New Year's, I think, because they have this fake dating contract that ends on December 31st. So we have Darcy and we have Al, who are just precious. Al is even wearing a scarf. I don't think I own a pink one. Oh yes, I do. This one's, well, this one's not going to keep me warm. It's currently snowing. And essentially they both have this man in their life who they're trying to appease by dating each other because it'll get him off their back, trying to find them dates constantly, basically. One of them is more into it than the other, like it was clearly one of their ideas. And the other girl's kind of hoping for more from a real relationship as opposed to a fake one. But I think she's setting her expectations in the right place. And the other girl obviously is like also a little bit interested but doesn't want to admit it. I like both of them. I like the story so far. I could definitely do without the Harry Potter references. And she's just a little cheesy, but I think it's intentional to play off of like the more sophisticated love interest. She says things like adulting. She has this astrology Instagram account. She's talking about how she makes money through it. And there's some fun insertions of like things you see on Instagram, things that I share all the time, where it'll give you all of the zodiac signs and then assign whatever the theme is. So this one is, what brunch food are you based on your zodiac? I am spicy chorizo hash, but my Leo rising gives me strawberries and cream stuffed French toast. So I vibe with that a little bit more. There was also a rom-com list, which I can't find now, but there it is. Fools Rush In. I've never heard of this movie. Perhaps I should watch it. Oh, this is gonna be the winner though. So at this point I'm having a good time. It's a grumpy sunshine dynamic, and I need to head out and see the tree light up. It's been a couple days since I last saw you. I got my hair done. I read some more chapters of this, and I'm ready to talk about it. I cannot figure out the settings of this camera to save my life. Every clip I take, the volume ends up being wrong, or the file size is humongous, or the focus is bad. I tried to take some clips while we were out at the tree light up thing, and I think I need to increase my frame rate because it was just everything was such a mess. So I'm gonna try not to go handheld with this camera until I figure that out. Hopefully this framing is okay. Anyway, as far as Written in the Stars is going, I think it's going okay. I just realized I have the same colored hair as this girl now. Anyway, I don't know that I love their dynamic. I've been enjoying the slow burn, I've been enjoying the wait, and now things are happening. Things happened a little too quickly. I don't think that they are the one for each other, but I think that they're fine as the for now for each other, and all the things that they're growing within their personalities and they're learning about themselves. That is the biggest benefit of this relationship, I think, for both of them. At this point, for me, it's gotten too soft and romantic and sweet, and they were having sex, and one of them looked at the other one and saw a mole, and she was like, that's my new North Star. And it's just too much for me. But now that I'm in the last quarter, it's been so sweet and soft and romantic, and now it's far too dramatic for me. Somebody in their review described it as a sweet sapphic romance full of big emotions, and I can't describe it better than that. Elle has always been in tune with her emotions, wears her emotions on her sleeve, is a big emotion girl, and Darcy is just now getting in touch with her emotions, confronting a lot of facts about her life, and so now her emotions feel very big. And because of all of that, I think this will work for a lot of people. The steam is at a good level. The balance of relationship versus internal turmoil, I want to call it, friendship and workplace stuff, it's all balanced well. I just don't know that I love them as a couple. Or maybe it's that I can't say I don't know these people because I know them so well, but I feel like I'm not close to them. It's very hard for me to explain, but I would say I'm having a good time. If I had to rate it right now, it'd be a 3.75, but we'll see how it all ends. Okay, I am indeed sticking to that rating for this and sticking to this background because I feel safe. I checked the clip. I think it's fine. I don't want to mess anything up. Normally I would film every clip in a different location. I'm trying to keep these long ass vlogs something interesting to keep watching. I don't know if I'm succeeding. Have you also noticed I have a different color palette with my clothing for every video? Probably not, because there's only been 2. I'm going to give you a little teaser of tomorrow's TBR after I give you my final thoughts on this and thoughts as a whole with these 6 books. There's not a lot of plot to speak of in here. It is very much focused on their relationship and them trying to navigate what they're doing, because it starts out fake and then it becomes real very quickly. Maybe it's more real for one over the other at different times throughout the book. They're trying to keep it a secret from their families, but they also have tense relationships within their families. And then they also have Brandon, who is orchestrating their relationship, that they're trying to figure out how to talk to him about it. And I just think learnings overall from this stack, one is that I really want something to care about outside of the relationship, which is something I established before, but I am committing to. I want to follow their writing career. I want to follow the wedding. I want to follow the hockey season. Like, I want there to be a goal in the book or an event, something that we are leading to, something that I care about. And the ones that I gave the lowest ratings to, not that I hated all of them by any means, but they were the ones that were mostly relationship vibes. And when people are looking for romance recommendations, that is what they're looking for. So thank you very quickly to Ashley from Bookish Realm. She gave me a whole list that I'm actually really excited to dive into and look more into. But this was something directly recommended by her that I'm really glad I picked up. And it was definitely recommended by a couple people as well. So thank you all for thinking of me with that title, because I would consider it a win. And then we had 3 bigger wins, which led me to more learnings, such as I can get on board with a second chance romance. I do find Hate to Love appealing. Maybe I'm not a forbidden romance girly after all. I like nice boys, and I do like a very strong-willed, bold, capable main character who is confident in what they care about in the relationship or in their job, or they're successful just in life. I do like a slower burn, and I'm still looking for my perfect rom-com. So to end it out, let me give you some recommendations for people to follow. These were the #1 people who were mentioned that people get their romance recommendations from. We've got Riley, Chandler, I'll link everybody down below, Mina from Mina Reads, Noelle Gallagher, Jessica from Peace Love Books, Syl from Book Voyagers, Larry Reads was mentioned a good amount of times. With all of that, ending out the video just like yesterday with telling you tomorrow's TBR and asking, knowing what you know now, what do you think of my 5-star predictions for myself, which is what this stack is? What do you think are wins in here and what aren't? Bye!